my generation has the G note, where anytime we hear a G5 note playing on a piano, we instinctively turn our heads because we think Welcome to the Black Parade by My Chemical Romance is gonna start playing somewhere. Yeah, the Bluey theme song is that, but for the post-pandemic generation and their parents. To illustrate my point, I'd like to welcome our resident child, Bae by 5, who has been staring at this intro this entire time. Say hi, baby. That's just it, huh? No logo, no nothing. It's just an image. Who knew? So I'm aware that this is a weird thing to complain about, but it's indicative of the team not exactly knowing what they were doing. I went into the options menu to see what we had, and I wanted to see how many different languages you could choose from, and kudos to Artax Games for including such a wide array for kids around the world, but, and I've never seen a game do this before, you have to select a language for this menu to disappear. In any other game, hitting the back or cancel button would take you back a submenu, but this game takes you back to the general options instead, and when going back into the language options, the game stores the fact that you selected the language menu in memory and presents you with that menu instead of starting over from the generalized language menu. Not the biggest deal in the world, but I was so confused why that was happening.
Hey Bingo, let's go play mermaids.
I could have sworn for a second that this was not Bluey's voice from the show because her delivery just sounded weird to me, and considering that the actors who play the child characters go uncredited for privacy reasons on account of, well, being children, I can't verify if Bluey has two different actors playing her or not, but there are times she sounds more like her show counterpart later in the game. Listen to her very next line.
Oh, do we have to?
What do you think, baby? Yeah, I think that sounds more like Bluey too, but her first two lines in this game, her delivery sounds off, which is weird because the voice acting process itself shouldn't have been much different than doing the show, and the kid actors in this cartoon are particularly talented. Okay, I promise I don't nitpick this much, but I just don't understand why certain things in this game weren't handled differently. There's a 4-frame window at the end of the scene right before the episode title card where the blanket on top of Bandit as well as the pillow he's on just disappear for no reason. Like, I get that the girls were trying to get him out of bed, but they disappear when they're on their way to Bandit. You had a title card screen coming up followed by a scene in the very same room. Why didn't you hide those elements disappearing behind the episode title card? I was gonna let this go, but then this line from Chilli happened.
Wackadoo! Let's check the living room next.
Why does this game have particularly bad lip syncing? The lip syncing from the show is excellent. It's like they set the mouth movements to automatically change based off of what Unity, the game engine this was developed in, thought the mouth should look like based on the audio playing. I think it stands out to me so much because the rest of this game looks so good and is so faithful to the show, but the lip syncing isn't. I know! Hey, Bingo? You alright? You good there, kiddo? Look, I know your dad is levitating right now, but that's no excuse to wig out. So, I know it may seem like I'm just standing next to Mr. Monkey Jocks like a dummy, not doing anything, but I promise you, I hit the action button like 7 times and nothing was happening. And that wasn't an isolated incident. That happened throughout pretty much the rest of the game, to the point that I eventually defaulted to double tapping and holding the button for it to work as fast as possible.
Can we play Keepy Uppy?
Yeah, of course. Give it to me.
Hooray, Keepy Uppy!
Wow, that sure looked like Chilli was blowing up a balloon with the balloon in front of her hands. Oh, nice. I get to play Keepy Uppy. That was it?
I'm a Keepy Uppy expert. Yeah, this is easy.
Just remember to make sure the balloon doesn't touch the grass.
But it's touching the grass right now, Bandit.
We squirts are pretty good at this.
Bandit, you were the last one that touched the balloon. What happens if I don't touch it? You just do it for me?
Which room did it go into?
With this house, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? I don't have a giant arrow pointing me to the exact location or anything. Also, why did this plant fall over? Baby, do you think this is the work of the fairies?
There it is.
But how do we get to it?
A better question, Bluey, is how did it get up there? It came in through the kitchen. Is there a gigantic airflow in here that would cause it to not only travel into the nursery, but then land on top of that stack of boxes?
Oh, way to go! Teamwork makes the dream work. All right, let's get that balloon.
Yeah!
If Bingo was going to do that anyway, what was the point in us moving things?
Hey, that's a picture of me when I was a kid.
In the olden days.
Why did Bluey's voice cut off like that? Dad's piece of map. Not even the map. I want to give these devs a peace of mind. Mine specifically. Sorry, ours.
Wow, you got a sticker sport. That's awesome. Any stickers you find will go into your sticker book. Stickers can be found around the house and other locations.
But I didn't find a sticker. I found Unicorse himself, like the actual puppet. Anytime you do anything in this game that contributes to the sticker book, whether it be finding a toy, watering a plant, or finding one of the 4 unique healer items, of which there are 3 of each in each level, you have to watch this animation of a star spinning and contributing to your hat unlock meter. And the first time it happened, I didn't think anything of it. I figured they were taking a moment to show the player what unlocking something in the sticker book did, which is just proper game design. When it happened the second time, I realized it was going to happen every time, and this game is already not very long, so when you consider that at 12 stuffed animals, plus 5 balls, plus 1 trampoline, plus 12 plants to water equals 30, thank you, 30 stickers, and then the 4 healer collectibles times 3 per level times 5 levels equals 60 more stickers, plus the 30 from before equals 90 stickers in total. That means you have to watch this star animation 90 times! And it would be one thing if this animation played while still allowing me to have control over the characters, but no! It stops you dead in your tracks until it's over, meaning that at 7 seconds a pop, times the 90 times it happens, equals 630 seconds or 10.5 minutes of doing nothing! Wait, why is there a location to access the sticker book when I can access the sticker book whenever I want? It's in my inventory. Literally, all I have to do is press a button. Wait, there are multiple locations where I can access the sticker book? That makes even less sense!
Wow, you got a sticker sport. That's awesome.
Be prepared to hear that 90 times! The evil witch has magical powers. See as she pushes a table without even touching it. Watch as she floats on a bookshelf while carrying a potted plant. See? Even Bluey thinks this animation takes too long. She's doing the Sonic the Hedgehog foot tap. I know, baby girl. Even in a game about the blue dog, I can't escape the blue rat. Is this just an endless supply of things? No, it has to run out, right? How many ¡1 mugs does the healer have? Why do you have so many of these? So I was just wanting to open this cabinet down here, the one under the sink to our left, but I guess I was just in the right position to somehow collect this pink bear, which is supposed to be all the way in the cabinet next to the window. Was Bluey supposed to have a line there? Because her name showed up in the subtitles, but there was no dialogue there. And now Detective Bingo has telekinetic powers. Watch as she beckons Floppy to her hands. Why can you bounce off the railing when coming down? There's nothing there that would make us go in the air like that. You're right, baby, it is pretty cool. So I had collected this monkey toy earlier and... No, not you, Monk, it's a toy. When you collect a new item that gets you a sticker, they show the toy first and then overlay the sticker book menu on top of the toy splash screen. So imagine my confusion when I could still vaguely see the chimp in the background after collecting a Pavlova because this version of the menu is still in memory. There's this entirely unnecessary sound effect for when you reach the edge of the map, and it's hilarious to me because you didn't need that. I think not being able to go beyond the confines of the house is indicative enough that I can't leave. And what's funnier is that sometimes that sound will play even when you're not bumping into it, but if you're just walking along its edge.
Wow, you got a stick.
Did Chilli get interrupted by a Bluey line that didn't even play? I was going around the healer house looking for collectibles when I saw an action command pop up for me, but I had no idea what it was for. After clicking it a couple of times, I got a leaf bug and have zero clue where it came from. My working theory is that it was supposed to be upstairs somewhere and teleported to me the way other items have, but if it was down here, I have no idea how they expected you to find it. Why is it not giving me the prompt? That's clearly the thing I need to collect, and it's not giving me the prompt. Huh?
Wow, you got a sticker sport. That's awesome.
I'm dumbfounded, dude.
Let's get something we can stand on.
It's still too high.
Maybe from this angle. If you look at the height of the ceiling in-game and ignore the throw pillow and door disappearing, Bandit looks just tall enough to reach Geki. Yes, that is Geki from the show. You remember that episode?
I think I see them.
Good stuff. Let's grab and go.
Stop. You're in the lava.
What?
We're playing grounds lava, remember?
Well, for one, Bingo, I didn't realize we were already doing that. I thought we were getting the costume so we could play Floor is Lava. But two, you never told your dad that. That was something you were discussing with Bluey and Muffin.
It's pretty far.
It is. But we can use that frog to jump and reach there.
If something's worth doing, it's worth doing well.
Dad.
What? What did Bandit say that would have merited that response? He didn't say a pun or make a lame joke or anything. He just said a pretty common phrase that's just good advice. Oh, what? You think it's not worth doing well? You'd never treat me like that, right, Monk? I'll eat you, Chunk. Okay, this happens all the time in the show too, but where do they pull things out of? Stripe's clearly not wearing any clothes, so where did his piece of map come from? The seesaw mechanic in this game is so difficult to understand. Like, sometimes I'll get thrown into the air, but if I ever move before then, it won't launch me at all. Huh? I collected a leaf bug, but the pavlova was shaking on the menu too. So, for context, I'd been trying to weasel my way onto this ledge as Bandit because I knew there had to be a way I could do it, but nothing was working. Then I figured the solution was probably to get a piggyback ride from one of the adults and drop off near the edge, and that's exactly what you have to do, but when I was dropping off Bingo, Bandit's model somehow got pushed up and was finally able to get up there himself. I tried so many different ways to get Bandit up there, and the only time it worked was after I gave up and tried a different solution.
The sprinklers are on.
Gosh darn, that's a lot of sprinklers for just the side of the house.
So?
Every so often when you go back to the healer house in between episodes, you'll find that there are baby gates set up to block off certain parts of the house, and they're so arbitrary because they'll appear even when they weren't there 2 minutes ago, and it's not like there are things in those areas that would break the game, at least I don't think. So what exactly is the point of blocking those areas off? That's a good point, Chunk.
Let's get Ducky.
Hold on, Bingo! You'll get wet!
Oh, yeah.
If we turn on the tap, the water will help Ducky rise to the top and we can grab him.
Or, and hear me out, you could drain the rest of the water instead of wasting it and then go in the tub to get the duck. Or the adults could just reach in themselves.
This flower's pretty.
Bluey, it's nearly dead!
No, it's not. We just need to water it.
Yes, and you would need to do so because it is nearly dead.
Let's fill the can up at the tap here on the deck. Nice! Fill to the top.
I don't know what you're talking about. That water clearly went through the can.
A plant! It's growing!
That is not how plants work. What kind of magical GMO water do you have in Australia that makes plants grow so quickly? So, I've been doing this Chattermax fetch quest for about 10 minutes now, and it is the most repetitive thing I think I've ever had to do in a video game. It's not hard, you just have to do it so many times.
Great job! You finished the episode. Now you can play Chattermax Chase.
Why would I want to?
Travel to the backyard.
Of the healer house? But I've been able to go there. Why am I only now able to collect the healer items here? I understand not being able to water the plants until now because the mechanic hadn't been introduced to us yet, but you're advertising the backyard as its own level when it's not. And you know what's even sillier about this? There already were certain collectibles that are considered part of the healer house level that were outside. If only the inside of the house had collectibles, that'd be one thing and I'd maybe understand, but what's the difference between items found around the house in the backyard level and items found outside the house in the house level?
Ah! Magic xylophone!
I thought you were helping.
You're on your own!
Freeze!
Exactly! She didn't even play the xylophone! That's the whole point of Magic Xylophone!
What happened to him?
It's the kids' magic xylophone. When they hit it and say, freeze, then you're stuck like that.
Ah. For how long?
Until you hit the xylophone again and say, unfreeze.
That's a rough deal. Why can't the people who aren't frozen save the person who is?
Well, it's not how we usually play. But I'll allow it. But how do we unfreeze people without the xylophone?
What if we use their tail?
Can we have another go with the new rules?
Sure, let's do a practice run.
You can practice on me if you like.
But we all have xylophones now! What's the point of the new rules if we all have xylophones we can use to freeze and unfreeze people?
Yep.
I like these new rules.
I thought you might. I'll sit the next round out though. Any more freezing and unfreezing and my tail will fall off.
Mum and Dad's turn?
What on earth was that sentence mixing? Okay, I was doubting it before, but now I'm almost convinced that there are two Bluey voice actors.
Once you have everything, come and meet me at the front of the house.
This isn't even remotely the first or only time it happens, but what Mort says and what the subtitles say do not match at all.
We did it!
Hooray!
That was heavy. Come on, just round the corner. We only need to cross the water to that island.
I thought you said we were nearly there.
I'd never forget one of my toys.
Probably not.
Yeah, that thing about ruffling Bingo's ears, not only should an action not be in the subtitles unless it's a noise you make with your mouth, but Bandit clearly never does that.
Treasure.
It's me and Bingo playing Keepy Uppy.
Huh? Who took these photos? At the park, we only met with Stripe and Muffin. Trixie and Socks weren't there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mama, those are your socks. Good job. I unlocked... what? This doesn't tell me anything. So after you collect all the hats that are in the game, your star points start going toward the ribbons, which, as far as I can tell, don't do anything. And what I don't understand is why you would have a set number of collectibles that nab you star points, but not an equal number of wearable costumes as rewards for leveling that star meter up. The butterfly wings, as far as I know, are the only wearable item that you can use while also wearing a hat. Why weren't there more of those? And if you didn't want to do that, why not just design more hats for the family to wear instead of rewarding players with ribbons that don't do anything? While I was returning to the levels to collect everything, I noticed that you can just use the rocks to climb up the side of the hill in the creek, so why did we have to pull those boulders during the story? Exactly, Monk. No reason. Excuse me? Where did you fill up the watering can from? Because the most logical answer would be the waterfall, but we're not allowed to go in that water, and you're nowhere even near it, so what water source are you using? As you can see, I'm playing as Bluey during the beach level, and there was a leaf bug atop an umbrella that I needed to get a piggyback ride to reach, so I went for Bandit, who was closer by, picked up the item, saw the sticker book, sat through the star animation, and when I got off the big fella's back, the player camera, I guess, got stuck on Bandit, even though I was still controlling Bluey. The only way I could fix this was by selecting Bandit as my character, because the camera remained broken if I chose anyone else. I had a few more plants to water that I missed at the healer house, so I had to go back, and when I selected it, the loading screen came up and just kind of froze. At first, after about 40 seconds, I thought it was just an uncharacteristically long one, but I've sat through longer. About a minute and a half later, I thought maybe the game had just crashed or something, but nope! I started fiddling with my controller, and it turns out that I was still playing. The game never took me to the healer house and just overlaid the loading screen. And the moment I lost it was when I paused. I have never been able to say that I paused during a loading screen. I could still navigate menus, or at least I'm pretty sure I was, given the sound effects. I tried traveling to the healer house again, which I think just overlaid another loading screen, but again took me nowhere. And my final straw was when I successfully navigated back to the title screen, which I thought would fix things, only for the loading screen to still be overlaid on the game. The only thing that could fix it was a hard reset. The thing I think I was most surprised with when it came to this game was that it technically doesn't end. I mean, the beach level serves more as a bonus area to collect more things in, but the game technically ends after digging up Bandit, Stripe, and Red's treasure. The game's last cutscene is right before we come to the beach, and there's nothing that ever starts a credit sequence. Even after you collect everything, you're still able to run around these areas aimlessly, replay the episodes, or play the minigames if you want, which is fine, but it's weird that in order to watch the game's credits, I have to manually select them myself from the options menu. And that brings me to my last point. This game costs $40 bucks new, and it's not so much the price point that I take issue with, which I mean, I do, but the reason I take issue with it is because of the game's overall quality. For starters, this is not a very long game at all, clocking in at around 2.5 hours, and that's considering I collected everything in a game I was only playing for the first time. And although I think that paying $40 for a 2 to 3 hour experience is unreasonable, to put it gently, the length of the game by itself is also not really my issue with it. There are plenty of really short games that are really well made and fun. So what exactly about this game do I take issue with? Well, as you can no doubt tell, this is not a particularly well put together game. From graphical oversights that could have and should have been easily fixed, to glitches that are a little too easy to run into, to dialogue that doesn't play properly when it decides to play at all, to gameplay loops that are not only really short and repetitive, but that sometimes even play themselves, there's a bunch of little things this game has, does, and or lacks that unfortunately start to add up, and it indicates to me either a lack of experience from the developers or a lack of care and attention to detail, and either is a massive shame given the source material. I've often seen the argument be made that since the target demographic of the game are kids in early childhood, it excuses the game's quality, and it's an argument that I'm just so tired of hearing. Kids aren't stupid just because they aren't complex compared to adults, and they deserve to have the media they consume be treated with care and love too. I mean, just look at the show by comparison. Despite its target demographic, it's a show that looks incredible, sounds amazing, is written well, not just from a comedic standpoint, but from an overall narrative one, and is a cartoon that the showrunners clearly have a lot of love for. To this game's credit, I think it looks great. It looks pretty much like the show, and the levels capture the feel of it pretty perfectly, on top of all the visual references it has to the show. But unfortunately, there are tiny things like the lip syncing I talked about earlier and the low quality assets that I neglected to mention. But why are there assets like that in this game when so much of it is otherwise rendered so well? Ironically enough, some of the assets I noticed were of lower quality were some of the characters' mouths, which for all intents and purposes shouldn't be a hard thing to pull off. I even liked the overall game design they were going for, a collectathon set in the Bluey world where each level is set as its own episode of the show, with characters and locations fans will recognize, which all come together to tell one overarching story that isn't adapting any of the episodes, rather it feels like it could fit into the show itself. But even that falls apart when every objective in the game is completed in 5 seconds, you're afraid to collect anything because it just means you'll have to sit through the star spinning animation again, followed by watching whatever we collected be put in the sticker book, something else I neglected to bring attention to that adds to the overall weighting this game makes you do, and if I have to hear Chilli utter the words, "Wow, you got a sticker sport, that's awesome," one more time, I'm certain I will implode. I feel like a lot of the elements to make an excellent Bluey game were here, but it's almost as if deliberate choices were made to make it not fun. And if you and your family played this and had a good time, by all means, don't take this as me saying that you're not allowed to enjoy this. There are plenty of games that I enjoy that others don't, but don't confuse your enjoyment of something for its overall quality. It's made for kids is often used as an excuse to dismiss any given media's shortcomings, when there's no reason that has to be a rule. And I'm not saying that because I want the media to appeal to me, an adult. When it comes to the show, and despite the fact that there are little details that adults will exclusively enjoy about it, it never felt like it was pandering to me or that it was there to keep my attention. It felt like an added spice to an already tasty dish. It elevates it, but by no means is it essential to being good food. The show is considered to be for kids of a preschool age, around 3 to 5 years old, and you know what I was already playing around that age? Games starring that blue rat I mentioned earlier. They're starting to be capable and dexterous enough to play Super Mario or Minecraft or Pokemon, games that are usually marketed toward a younger audience, but that are designed for people of all ages. And that's what Bluey in particular is to me. Isn't it awful to sometimes look back at the things we used to watch as kids and realize how infantilizing and silly it was, and that the only reason we watched it was because it had bright colors and kept our attention for a couple of hours? Isn't it amazing to rewatch some of those old shows and realize how much they hold up? Or in fact, not just hold up, but have things in them that you weren't able to appreciate yet because of how young you were when you first experienced it? I don't know, man. I'm just trying to say that kids deserve better than the bare minimum when it comes to stuff produced for them, and that especially includes video games. A movie or a show they can sit down to watch. Video games are interactive. Playing them is part of what's so magical. It's the same with books and why there's so much quality children's literature. Authors craft stories to let children's imaginations run wild. It shapes the kind of person they grow up to be, and I know my kid deserves better than something with little to no substance, hiding behind a name and imagery that I'm sure will help define a bunch of kids around the world. Sorry, I just really care about this.
got a sticker sport! That's awesome!
Hey everyone, Charai5 here. Thank you so much for watching my CINEMASINS pastiche of everything wrong with Bluey the video game. This was a fun one. I cannot remember the last time that I laughed this much while playing a game. I'd known about the quality of the game before tackling it, and so I was very curious, but I had no idea it was going to make me laugh as much as it did, and I think that shows in just how many genuine reactions there were in this one. Question of the video. Have you guys ever watched this show? Have you guys ever watched Bluey? Because I'm very curious to know what the demographic of parents is for my audience, because I know a lot of you are on the younger side, especially in the gaming sphere. A lot of our audiences can be, you know, teens or young adults, people who are not parents yet. But you don't need to be a parent to watch the show. And I'm curious to see if you guys have actually seen it or not, and what you think about it. I mean, I sort of laid out what my thoughts of the show were, basically, on the last sin. I think it's great. There's so much to sing the praises of. I couldn't get into it right now because there's just too much to talk about, but I think it's great. I'm curious to know what you think, and how many of you are parents? And how many of you are watching these videos with your kids? I know that there are people who watch with their parents, but I'm curious how many of you watch with your kids. On screen, you're seeing the name of the wonderful patrons and channel members who contribute monthly to this channel. I appreciate you guys so much. And to any of you who, you know, might consider helping me out and seeing your name alongside them and in the description, you know, head on over to the Patreon that's in the description, or hit the join button underneath this video. If not, just sharing the video, commenting, any sort of interaction helps a ton. But anyway, I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and stay awesome. This is Charai5, signing off.